Ford was trying to take a piece out of Ferrari. And that's what I think you have with these two guns. Okay, so let's talk about, we've done a Sig 365 XL review, if you want to call it that. Done a Glock 48 review. Question that inevitably has come up over the prior weeks, given that we are filming all of this in the same day, is, but how does that compare to that? And how does that compare to that? So I have a lot of thoughts on this. And the first one I'm going to give you is, because it's a relevant movie that is out now, Ford versus Ferrari. Okay, now, haven't seen the movie, no interest in it really, but the gist of the tale is that Ferrari was dominating the market for years and no one could compete. And then Ford comes in and they're like, let's bring in Carroll Shelby. And I believe, if history serves me correct, that's where the Ford the Ford GT came from, right? And it was like Ford was trying to take a piece out of Ferrari. And that's what I think you have with these two guns. Now, here's the good news in that. Competition's good. Competition always, I feel like I'm Trump now on the opponent. Competition's good. We're going to bring it back. We're going to get rid of the lines around the states, right? This is kind of what is happening with Glock and Sig right now. Finally, the company that has never had competition inside of the striker fire space, Sig comes in and goes, well, let's throw a little kink into your business plan there. And that's good. We win, okay? Like, the consumer wins when these two decide to go at it. Now, they might be best friends for all I know, but I like to pretend like they're enemies just because the story's a little more juicy that way, okay? Now, when it comes specifically to, well, what do I think about each of these guns? I haven't done this yet, but let's just see. Okay. Let's just go down the list here, okay? Glock 48. Actually relatively a pretty good size bigger when it actually comes to the slide length there. Like, I would say, look, that's big enough to be notably bigger to me. And grip, I can do this. There you go, there's your difference in grip. That's a notably longer grip, I would say. So really, with these two guns, that Glock 48 is noticeably bigger, okay? Now, that Glock 48, single stack. Why does this drive me so nuts that a gun is, like, I get it. Like, this is very much gonna be a rant video, okay? I get it. The whole point of this is that it's not a 19, it's not double stack, and it's single stack. I get it, you know? Like, it almost makes me wonder, well, look, is this, because this is super interesting, because this is double stack 12 rounds. What is the Sig competing with? Is it a competitor to the 48, or is it a competitor to a 19? And it's kind of both, because it's a double stack like a 19. It's a little smaller than a 19. I don't think significantly, but probably in the same way that 48 is about that much bigger than the Sig 365. I have a feeling the 365 is, or the 19 is about that much bigger than an XL, okay? So it's almost like, is this competing with the 19? Is it competing with the 48? And it's kind of both. It's in this very unique hybrid category. The things that come to mind, okay? It's a really interesting side-by-side comparison with these two, like more so than most side-by-side, you know, sort of gun comparisons. Because you just got to go, okay, 450 bucks, right? Retail 450. And a lot of people who like to just go as cheap as possible, they're like 450, but that's 580. And they're like, well, that's a big gap. Okay, sure. Let's play that game for a second though. These sights have to go. There's nothing to debate. These sights have to go. They're dog shit, okay? We take dog shit. This is how the Glock factory works in Austria, right? Like they go out, they go to kennels, they take dog shit, they put it in big bags, right? They take it back to the Glock factory. They take that dog shit, they package it, and somehow they make a front and a rear sight out of it. I don't know how they do it. It's a miracle, but somehow they do it. Now these will crumple like dried old dog shit. They will last that long. So you have to replace these sights. If you go get good sights, have them installed, please don't do it yourself, it will go wrong. You're gonna spend 130 bucks. So that 450 versus 580, you go, okay, cool. You just close the gap. just on the sights. Just on the sights alone, you close the gap. So let's now pretend that you upgraded the sights on this Glock to match the sights, you know, roughly on this Sig. So you go, okay, now the guns are the same price. So now how do we look at it? If we get rid of the price comparison, you go, okay, cool. I've got an RMR plate on the Sig, which I don't have on the Glock. That's an upgrade that is not cheap, you know, it's certainly not less than $100 to do that. You go, okay, this grip is stippled. This one is not. Okay, cool. You could do that yourself. You will fuck it up, but you could do it yourself. You go, okay, what else? You know, barrels, obviously pretty standard shit there. The round capacity thing. I mean, doesn't this kind of tell the story? I get more rounds in a smaller package, in a slide that is long enough that I can still hit it at distance. Like that extra slide length, okay, but it's like, I don't know that it's necessary. So RMR, let's talk triggers. This is a tricky one for me. This is a really tricky one for me because I will be the, hopefully this doesn't, hey, the Glock sight's held up. So I don't know what to make of this. You know, it's like this almost obnoxiously flat trigger to me where the trigger pull isn't bad. It's fine. I'd say the trigger pulls are relatively equal versus on my old 43 versus my 365, just standard, non-XL. The trigger is noticeably better in that Sig than my Glock 43. These two, I'd say the trigger pull is about equal. They're really not, one's not better than the other. The thing I would have to give a point to Glock for is I do kind of like having that trigger safety. I have to admit, I do like having that trigger safety. And that flat trigger, despite liking a flat trigger, it's just a little steep for me. So I don't know if anyone's ever said this. I prefer this stock Glock trigger. Who's ever said they liked a stock Glock trigger better than anything? I think I like that trigger better than this. I like this slide release better than this fucking terrible thing that they consider a slide release. I like this mag release better than this. I like the fact that this Sig has a little bit of almost a very minimalistic built-in mag well versus, of course, Glock's like, yeah, we don't do that kind of thing around here in Austria. It's tough. It's tough in terms of how they shoot. I would say the Glock probably shoots a little better and more flat than the Sig. Is that surprising? Not really. Not really. I mean, it's a bigger gun. I would expect it to shoot a little flatter. To be perfectly honest, that Glock shoots pretty good. Like it actually does. It's actually pretty nice to shoot. If you threw on some better sights, stippled a little bit, you got a smooth shooting gun. You got a smooth shooting gun. This shoots how I expected it to shoot. It shoots pretty good, and that's how I expected it to shoot. The differences if we go back in time a couple years to standard 365 non-XL versus a standard 43, that was so dramatic, the difference in those guns, that I thought, how the hell could anyone go buy a Glock 43 minus total Glock whores when this 365 is on the market? To me, it was just a no-brainer between the round capacity and all the features, sights, all that kind of stuff. No-brainer. Ford and Ferrari going at it, right? Like, we've closed the gap a little bit now. And Glock saying, okay, we're going to have to innovate a little bit. We're going to have to do shit that we don't normally do, like front cocking serrations and like changing up sizes and all this kind of stuff. Glock is not known for innovation. Hate to break it to you, everyone. Sig's taking a chunk of that business. So if I condense this into, well, which one of these do I take? Shit. Why are you putting me in this situation? Don't make me put, this is actually a really tough choice. More enjoyable to shoot makes more sense to buy. It just does. It makes more sense to buy. Extra capacity, better features, RMR plate, better sights, stippled, magwell, all that kind of stuff. Makes more sense. A little more enjoyable to shoot, bigger gun. Makes more sense to buy. Peace, kids of America. Everyone, thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel while you're here. Maybe like, leave us a comment. If you leave us a nasty comment or you leave us a thumbs down, that might be the lowest form of human interaction these days. Who leaves a thumbs down on a YouTube video? But subscribe. You can find us on YouTube, Outspoke, Full30.com, 1911 Syndicate. It's very simple. If you're a podcaster, you just like listening to audio in your car, you can search the Syndicate Minutes on Apple, Google, Spotify, and you can always find us on Instagram, Facebook, all those good things. Just search 1911 Syndicate, and we'll hang out. Come on, we'll hang out with each other online. Let's become friends. Come on, just do it. Go, do it now.